Chapter 4. 2 years earlier. Sophia Buster hung up the phone and hugged herself with happiness. Her husband was coming home. He'd be here in an hour. Husband. How she loved saying the word, turning it over in her mind and on her tongue like a piece of succulent candy. They were married now. Actually married. Frankie, her only friend through the long, dark, desperate years in New York. Frankie, the most beautiful, brilliant, perfect man on earth. Frankie, who could have had anyone, had chosen her, Sophia, to be his bride. Most mornings she still woke up and felt nervously for her wedding band, unable quite to believe her good fortune. But then she reminded herself. I am Sophia Buster, great-granddaughter of Miriam, a Moroccan princess. I'm special. Why shouldn't he have chosen me? Their apartment was modest, a 2-bedroom condo in the Beverly Hills postal district, but Sophia had made it warm and welcoming, delighting in creating the perfect nest for Frankie to come home to. Brightly colored cushions and throws adorned the couch in the living room, which was flooded all day long with blazing California sunshine. How Sophia loved that sunshine, after 18 grim, overcast years in New York. The grimy city, the loneliness of the children's home. Sophia's life had been a nightmare back then. But it all seemed like a dream now, a story that had happened to someone else. And what a story it was. Sophia's mother, Christina, had been a drug addict and sometime hooker, as ill-equipped to take care of her children as she was to take care of herself. But it had not always been like that. Christina Buster grew up in great wealth, first in Morocco and later in Paris, where her parents sent her to an exclusive girls' boarding school. Tall and slender as a gazelle with creamy skin and mellow, searching brown eyes, the spitting image of her grandmother Miriam, Christina quickly caught the eye of the Parisian modeling scouts who hung around the Rue du Faubourg looking for fresh talent. By 16 years of age Christina was working almost full-time. By 18 she was living in New York, sharing a model apartment with 3 other girls from her agency and indulging in all the myriad pleasures the city had to offer. Christina Buster's burnout was rapid and catastrophic. First came cocaine. Later it was heroin. At 20, after one missed job too many, Christina was dropped by her agency. By now estranged from her family, and too proud to ask for help, she turned instead to boyfriends to fund her ever-growing habit, in reality dealers and pimps, who dragged her deeper and deeper into hell. Sophia and her twin sister, Ella, were the result of Christina's 3rd pregnancy. Christina had tried to abort them, as she had the other babies, but the procedure was botched and both babies survived. Born in the Bearwind maternity clinic in Harlem, and abandoned there by their mother that summer night, the Buster twins spent a few short weeks together before Ella, the prettier baby of the two, was adopted by a local doctor and his wife. From then on, Sophia began her life as she was destined to continue it, alone. But not completely. When Sophia was 6 years old and living at the St. Mary's Home for Girls in Brooklyn, the staff at the home received word, via a top-flight Madison Avenue law firm no less, that Sophia's mother had died. Christina had left a small bequest to her daughters. As the doctor and his family had moved away, taking Ella with them, it was decided that the bequest should go to Sophia. It's not very substantial, the lawyer explained, to the great disappointment of the head of St. Mary's. It may have sentimental value, though, perhaps when the child is older. Thus a book, an old book. And a letter. The book was the one that recounted the love story of Miriam and Jibril, which a few years later Sophia and Frankie would spend so many happy hours poring over together. The letter was from Sophia's mother, explaining that the book was not some legend, but the true story of one of Sophia's ancestors, a relic of a past that Sophia had never known, and detailing the circumstances of her birth. Frankie had seen the letter. Sophia had shown it to him in her teens. He was the only one she trusted and he understood that the book and the letter changed everything for the orphan Sophia. Overnight, she had gone from being nobody, the unwanted spawn of a hooker and her pimp, to being somebody special, a royal Moroccan princess tragically separated from her beautiful twin. Of course, the other kids in the home made fun of her, told her that her book was a load of horseshit, that there was no twin, no exotic royal past. But Frankie helped Sophia see past their envy and their mockery. He was her rock, her salvation, her only friend, and the book was her most treasured possession. To this day, Sophia wasn't sure what had drawn Frankie to her. Perhaps it was that he was an orphan too, a genuine orphan, like her. Most of the kids in the home had families, just not ones that could take care of them. Frankie and Sophia had no one. But in other ways they were wildly different. Where Sophia had always been lonely and friendless, envied by the girls in the home for her beauty and harassed by the boys for the same reason, Frankie was adored by everyone, Steph and kids alike. Handsome, my God, he was so handsome! Ausrufezeichen smart, funny, charismatic, he could make you feel special merely by casting his ice blue eyes in your direction. Frankie cast his eyes in Sophia's direction a lot. But not in the zahme, frightening, predatory way that the other boys did. Frankie's attentions were nobler, gentler somehow, and infinitely more precious than the other's testosterone-fueled advances. Sophia was flattered but frustrated. She longed for him to touch her, but he never made a move. She had begun to despair that he ever would. And then one day a miracle happened. They were reading the book together in the rec room, as they so often did. Frankie loved the book almost as much as Sophia. He thought Miriam's story was wonderfully romantic and questioned Sophia endlessly about her family history and her long-lost twin, Ella. But on this day, he asked a different question. The most wonderful, unexpected, unhoped-for question. And of course Sophia had said yes, and Frankie had promised her that as soon as they were married, he would be with her, physically, as a man and wife should be. From that point on, in her own mind at least, Sophia Buster's life had been transformed into one long fairy tale. She and Frankie married on her 18th birthday and moved out of the orphanage to a minuscule studio apartment in Harlem, where, as promised, Frankie had made love to her for the first time. It was the happiest 4 minutes of Sophia's life. For the next 2 years Sophia worked as a waitress while Frankie went to school. He was so smart he could have been anything he wanted to be, a doctor, a lawyer, a businessman. He was offered the job in LA before had even graduated, that's how smart he was. They moved to California packing one single suitcase of possessions and waving goodbye to New York as happily as two people ever had. Los Angeles was everything Sophia had dreamed it would be and more. In fact, her life now was so perfect, she felt guilty when she complained about anything, like Frankie having to travel for work or stay late at the office. Or like the fact that, so far, they'd been unable to conceive a child. Although this probably had something to do with how rarely her husband wanted to make love to her. I want it to be special, Frankie explained. It won't be if we let it become routine. Sophia tried to convince Frankie that it would be special for her no matter how many times they did it, but he wouldn't be moved. Sophia told herself she shouldn't let it bother her too much. He showed her his love in so many other ways, taking intimate photographs, burning up with jealousy when other men paid her attention, complimenting her constantly on her clothes, her perfume, her hair. The sexual side would come, in time. She'd finished baking a batch of cookies and was in the middle of changing the sheets on their bed when she heard Frankie's key in the door. Squealing with delight, she flew into his arms. "Baby." He kissed the top of her head. "Did you miss me?" "Of course I did. Every second. Why didn't you tell me earlier that your flight was today? I'd have come to Lux to meet you. I know you would've. I wanted to surprise you." Frankie looked at his adoring young wife and congratulated himself, once again. Sophia's beauty never failed to surprise him. After only a few days away from her, she seemed to have grown more lovely, more perfect. She was an angel. The thought of another man touching her put murderous thoughts into Frankie's head. Yet he knew with absolute certainty that he could never be the lover she wanted. It was a problem. That night in bed, feeling her frustration as she lay next to him, Frankie asked, "Do you ever think about sleeping with other men?" Sophia was horrified. "No. Of course not. I'd rather die." "How can you ask me that? You'd really rather die?" He looked at her with an intensity she'd never seen before. Sophia thought before answering, then said yes, because it was the truth. She wouldn't have been able to live with herself if she betrayed Frankie. He was her life now, the breath in her body. "Good," said Frankie. "In that case there's a man I want you to meet. An important man." Slowly, he reached down between her legs. Sophia moaned helplessly. It had been so long since had touched her. "Please, please don't stop." But Frankie did stop, pulling his hand away and placing a finger over Sophia's lips. She could have wept. "I want you to be nice to this man. Do everything that I tell you to do. Even if it's hard. Of course, darling. She reached for him. You know I'll do anything for you. But what did you have in mind? Don't worry about it now. I'll set it up. You just do as I ask. Frankie rolled on top of her. To Sophia's astonishment, he was hard. Sliding inside her, he gave 5 or 6 short thrusts and climaxed almost instantly. For a while neither of them spoke. Then Sophia asked quietly, "What's his name?" This man you want me to meet. What's his name? In the darkness, Frankie smiled. Jakes. His name is Andrew Jakes.